Welcome, everybody, to Let's Talk, the Todd Worsham Show. So today's episode is about my ancient archaeology journey and how I got started on all that, and some of the things I've learned and where I'm kind of at now, and just my journey on that path of learning. So it's cool. Anyway, I hope you like it, and hopefully you'll learn some stuff and might interest you and do some stuff yourself. Okay. Anyway, so I don't know. I guess about 7 or 8 years ago, I was over a friend's house and we were messing around on YouTube, and we popped up and found this some videos on Anunnaki, and I'm like, what the hell is that? So we went ahead and opened it up and started watching it, and it was actually pretty mind blowing. So a long time ago, we found these cuneiform tablets, and basically they're like all these clay tablets that the Sumerians, that's how they did their writings, and they recorded everything. They recorded taxes, lawyers. Johnny owes Billy like 3 bulls or 3 goats and for a bale of wheat or whatever. But anyway, they recorded everything. It's pretty actually insane. Anyway, one of those tablets, or I shouldn't say one, some of those tablets are called the creation tablets. And they were written by the Sumerians on these cuneiform clay tablets. And basically explains, in their view, the creation of mankind. And a guy named Zachary Stitchin translated these into English, translated them so we could read them. And basically, it blew me away because it talked about the creation of man and Adam and Edom and all these places. And I started listening to this, and I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. That sounds like Genesis in the Bible. So, excuse me. So later on, I went ahead and got my Bible out, and I started reading the Genesis, and I started looking at going through the video again and comparing the Sumerian tablets to Genesis, and it just blew my mind because you could actually take the cuneiform tablet Sumerian and take Genesis, the Bible, and put it right on top, and they were almost word for word. It just really blew me away. Now, some of the names were a little bit different, and the names of the places were a little bit different, but then it started getting off on this weird stuff. And basically what it was saying is that we were genetically designed by the Anunnaki. Anunnaki, in a nutshell, kind of means something like from those from heaven who came to earth or came here. But basically from those from the heavens. So they came here, and according to the tablets, they genetically designed us. And this took like thousands and thousands and thousands of years. It wasn't like it happened like today where you just clone something or clone somebody or whatever, and it just takes a little while. This process took, if I understand everything, it took almost hundreds of thousands of years to perfect everything to what we are today. And it kind of fills in that block of the missing link that everybody says that we have, where we went from this to this. There's that missing link, and they can't figure out how we got here, how we became Homo sapiens. So kind of filled in that block. And then from there, I started reading some more and doing some more research, and I started getting into the whole Egyptian thing, which I kind of thought was kind of cool ever since I've been a kid. But I didn't really think much of it, it just didn't. But now that I'm older and things just intrigue me more, especially history, I decided to endow myself into this and look into it and start doing more and more research. Well, my research is taking me down a really weird road. It's taking me places that I never even dreamt of going to. And one of those things is extraterrestrials. So, in my research, in my findings, and listening to doctors and PhDs and archaeologists and geologists and all these people, it's pretty cool because all around the world at the same time, you can see hieroglyphs and pictures of alien spacecraft all across the whole planet right about the same time. It's really bizarre. And no matter if you believe in extraterrestrials or not, it doesn't really matter because it's out there, and ancient archaeology proves that ancient societies interacted with something or somebody that was not from here. It's stated in all the scriptures, whether it's Hindu, whether it's Egyptian, whether it's Incas, Mayas, um, Tibet, even the American Indians, the Australian indigenous, the Aborigines. They all have the same story that we came from the stars. So it's pretty bizarre. Never thought this journey was going to take me down this road. Now, I believed in UFOs pretty much all my life because I grew up on the coast in California. And I know this sounds crazy, but I can remember being younger and I can remember seeing lights going in and out of the ocean. And I don't know, I just never, it was kind of taboo back in those days. So you really didn't say anything. And I didn't really even know who to even say it to. But when I was a child, I actually saw, I guess what I would call now UFOs, entering and exiting the ocean right off by Catalina, I think it was. I don't know. A lot of times it was always at night, but it was at night, and you just see these white lights come out of the sky, and they just go right down around Catalina. And I witnessed that. I don't know how many times. I would say probably at least 4 or 5 times I witnessed that. Not only that, but I lived up in Big Bear for a while, and I can tell you for a fact that the big backside of Big Bear is very, very active. I saw all kinds of crazy stuff there. But again, kind of taboo. You don't want to say anything. So what do you do with it all? I don't know. I just threw it in a little box and put it in the back of my head and just never really thought anything about it until recently. And the reason why I say recently is because this journey on this ancient archaeology has just taken me off the planet. It's taking me to places where I didn't think it would take me. So, for example, let's say Moses. How did Moses part the Red Sea? I don't know. And when I was a child going to Sunday school, and I had to go to catechism. Well, I didn't have to. I chose to go to catechism and do all that stuff, do my first communion. I was a good little, was actually good. I was a little Catholic boy. And a lot of times I just didn't believe those stories. They were just too, the Philistines, Moses, David and Goliath, this big, huge person, and all these stories, they were just really hard to digest. Well, it's kind of funny because the more research I do, I realize that the Bible is actually almost verbatim. Its stories are actually very true. The Philistines, the giants, right? Goliath. Well, we've been finding their bones all over the planet for the last 200 years or so. Especially here in the United States, there's been all kinds of giant bones dug up, especially in the Midwest. And of course, the government, keep it hush hush. And also, the big thing that's going on right now is underwater archaeology. And with underwater archaeology, we have proven, actually, we found the chariots at the bottom of the Red Sea. Now, this is nuts. I I don't know. I was like scratching my head and like going, what the hell? They found the chariots? Yes, they did. Unfortunately, because of the sea creatures that adhered themselves to the chariots themselves, the actual material of the chariots are not there anymore. But instead, what happened is like all the barnacles or what, I don't know the name of the sea creatures, but all the creatures that adhered themselves to the chariots, they actually built like a casting all around the parts, and you can actually see the wheels, and you can see the spokes. They found the Pharaoh's chariot, which was gold, but due to politics or religion or whatever, they're not letting us bring those up out of the water so we can verify things. But it's pretty cool though. And then the other one that really blows me away is in my research, I was reading some scriptures from the Hindu scriptures, and one of the things that talked about was Dwarka, and Dwarka was a city up on northwest India, and in the scriptures it talks about there was this big battle between these Varamas, and it explains that Varamas were like these flying, like little cities or like these flying boats. And these Varamas, they had weapons. And according to the scriptures, one of them shot down a lightning bolt or some kind of energy and hit the northwest side of the India continent and broke off Dwarka into the ocean. Now, this is all the scriptures, so everybody's reading this and they're thinking, yeah, whatever, just some more, just like the Bible, just fairy tales. Well, I believe it was last year. Maybe this year. Well, they found it. It's there, right where it says it's supposed to be. They found a whole city that actually broke off from the continent, and it's all sitting down there underneath the water to be, looked at and to be measured and try to figure out what happened. And then the pyramids. I mean, everybody thinks that the Great Pyramids of Giza are like the only pyramids on the planet. Well, they're not. There's like, the last I heard, there was probably at least 1,000 pyramids in China. In fact, I believe that one pyramid is actually larger than the largest pyramid in Giza. I don't remember if that's correct or not, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. But anyway, they found pyramids in South America, Central America, Mexico, China, Egypt. So, I mean, these are all over the place. And we really don't know how old they really are. Because if you think about it, the Sphinx, we just figured out that the erosion that was on the Sphinx, which we thought was from wind, we actually proved now is from water. Okay, so we're pretty sure that we know that the deluge happened around 10,000 years ago, 10 to 12,000 years ago. So that would put the Sphinx at least 10,000 years old. Now, most Egyptologists will want you to believe that the pyramids are only like 2,500 years old, or maybe 3,000 at the most. No bueno. That is nowhere even near correct. Nowhere. I mean, that's back in Noah's day, right? Because Noah built the ark for the deluge because God told him that there was going to be a cleansing of the planet. So that gets us kind of back to the Anunnaki in a sense, or back into extraterrestrials, because all around the planet you have hieroglyphs, you have petroglyphs, you have pictures, you have engravings, carvings, whatever, all around the whole planet that talk about beings descending from the heavens. That's what Anunnaki basically means, from those from heaven to earth. are those who came from heaven to earth. So if you look at all the ancient history all around the planet going on all around the same time, they're all telling us the same story, that beings came down and created us. The Hopi Indians, the Navajo, the Aborigines, the Chinese, the Indias, um, the Anunnaki or the Sumerians. So now, how does the Bible fit into that, and what is God? Okay, so that gets kind of crazy because according to like Zachary Stitchin and some other well-known people and well-educated people, God doesn't actually mean creator. It means creation. So that kind of changes everything. And it basically, from what I'm learning, that we're all made from the same particles in the universe. No matter what galaxy you're in, no matter where you're from or whatever, we're all made from the same particles. So this is kind of crazy because my journey took me off into some stuff where I started watching some interviews with people who have started to whistleblow that were employed by the government that were actually designated to interact with extraterrestrial beings. So according to them, we've been doing this for like 60 years. We've been interacting with what most people call the grays. And they said right now there's like 3 major players right now: the reptilians, the tall blondes, and the grays. Now, the grays have been interacting with us a long time ago. Like in 1947, right? Roswell. Everybody always just thinks of the one Roswell crash. Well, there was actually like 3 or 4 of them. And the whole reason why that happened was because they were in battles with the reptilians, because the reptilians want to take over the planet, but the grays don't want them to. So this is crazy. I mean, it's so crazy. It's like, I mean, it's like Star Wars, but in real. It blows me away because all of these people are coming out from the government who actually intervened. They were actually assigned certain beings, extraterrestrial beings, to communicate with, because not anyone can just communicate with extraterrestrials, because mostly they speak with telepathy. So not everybody has the mindset or has the mind to openly communicate with them. This is just what I've learned. I don't know how true this is, because obviously I've never communicated with them, obviously, or else I'd be telling that story too. But it's pretty wild. So all these people are saying the same thing, that our history, the world history, actually goes back like at least 270 million years. That's how long there has been life on this planet. There has been several cycles of life, whether it's reptilian, humanoid, or whatever. Things have been cycled up until the point now. And then we have been genetically designed. Now, according to the Sumerian tablets, to Zachary Stitchin's translations, the Anunnaki designed us because they needed gold, and because of the gravitational pull from their planet to here was so much greater here that they had a hard time staying here. So that's when they decided to genetically improve some of the indigenous beings that were already here, which created us. And then it just evolved from there. So basically, when you read the Bible and it says that we are created in God's image, now that I read that, I don't think of like as God, like as a being or something like that. I think is we're created in the image of the universe, and it makes more sense to me because the older I get, the more research I do, the more I find out that we are of pure energy. We are, our souls are part of the universe, and what we're in right now is just a shell, and we come into the shell, and we learn things, and that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to learn, and we keep getting like recycled, or I guess most people call it reincarnation. That would probably be the easiest way to say that. But so as your body passes, your soul goes up to heaven, and then you come back down as someone else in some other time. Now, this has been verified by Edgar Casey, who was, I don't know if you know who he is, but he was probably one of the best and most craziest channelers ever in history. I mean, you should look him up, Edgar Casey. It'll blow you away. But he was able to access the Universal Library and get knowledge and tell us about things from the past and things that were to come. And pretty much all his prophecies have come to fruition. So Edgar Casey, really, really good person to look up and look at his channeling. It'll blow you away. So my ancient archaeology started with the Anunnaki on YouTube. And now I'm on, I think it's Gaia. They got a channel out there it's got like Linda Muller, Linda Hauer Mole. Anyway, she's been a ufologist since the 70s, and she started out with the crop circles in the 70s. And she has been doing insanely detailed research on a planetary level, talking to anyone and everyone who wants to come up and talk about their experiences and their knowledge and what they know and what's really going on. So the bottom line is pretty much what the extraterrestrials are telling us is that we're stuck in a three-dimensional world right now. And the only way that we can reach God or reach heaven or reach, ascension is by creating world peace. So what they're saying is the planet has to be in unison with love and with peacefulness. And obviously that's not going to happen in my lifetime. I mean, you just turn on the TV and you can see that's not going to happen anytime soon. Not saying it won't happen, but it's not going to happen in my generation. I can guarantee you that. So it's led me on that journey. And then also they talk about how this has been going on for millions of years. Species have come here, they've lived, they've left. According to one of the interviews I watched, the Greys are the ones who designed and developed I believe it was the Mayans. And I believe it was, I can't remember if it was around the deluge or where it was around, but they decided to take them and relocate them to another place. Because we can't figure out where they went to. I mean, a whole civilization, like 600,000 people just vanished in one day. They were there one day, gone the next. Gone. So that kind of explains what they're doing. And they're watching us, and they can't really, according to them, they can't really intervene. So I don't know what's going to happen. I believe we're going to be okay. I believe that love will overcome. And I believe that we will get to the point where we can get to that fourth dimension, where we can get to ascension, where we can be spiritually one with God. I do believe that we can do that. I just think it's going to take a little while longer. I don't know. It could be another 100, 200 years. Could be 50 years, but I know it's just not going to be in my generation. That just can't happen. I mean, there's nothing. There's no way you're going to flip half the planet in 20, 25 years. That just isn't going to happen. So my journey with the ancient archaeology has been really, really cool. I think that you guys should go out there and do some of your own research and get wowed and try to understand, because I don't know everything. I'm not saying I believe everything. I'm just saying it's out there. There's, in my opinion, there's too many people saying the same exact thing. Kind of like when you look back at the ancient archaeology and you see the spaceships, in Egypt, you see them in India, the Varamas, you see him in China, you see him in the Mayans with that guy that's sitting in the, I know everybody's pretty much seen it, Chariots of the Gods, right? Where that guy's sitting in and it looks like a rocket ship and it's pointing up and you can see the flames coming out of the back and it looks like he's working controls and he has his feet on some pedals and all kinds of, I mean, how would an ancient civilization how they even conceive that? I mean, we didn't even think about all this stuff till, the 20th century. So I don't understand how people thousands and thousands of years ago can draw or carve detailed pictures of what looked like spacecraft. I mean, and I know some people are going to say, well, you got an imagination. Well, you know what? Look them up for yourself. I said, there's, in fact, in Egypt, there's one wall that has a picture, I believe it looks like a helicopter. It looks like a plane. And to me, it looks like a boat, but they call it something else. But to me, it looks like a boat. It looks like, actually looks like my boat. It looks like a speedboat. But they had all this stuff in the hieroglyphs. And it's just insane because that was at least 2,500 years ago, at minimum of that. Probably more like 35 or 4,000 years ago. So how would they know what a helicopter would look like? In fact, it looks like an Apache helicopter. It's bizarre. It's crazy. The first time I ever saw it, I'm like, this is crap. But it got authenticated. Somebody didn't go back in and do it later. It's actual hieroglyphs of these things. And you have to just ask yourself, how would people thousands and thousands of years ago, who we thought were, these ignorant people, but yet they knew more about the star system. And in fact, back in those days, if you go all around the planet at that same time period, you're going to see pictures, carvings, and hieroglyphs of our solar system. We didn't find that, I don't think, until the 1700s is when we started realizing that the Earth wasn't flat. And then you have, all these documentations all around the planet thousands of years ago that actually show solar systems. And then, of course, I think everybody knows you can line the pyramids up with, I think it's Orion, the solar system. So there's just too many things that connect too much for us to not believe that there's something really bigger going on here. And I believe that we need to try to understand these things. And I believe that will help mankind. It will help us understand what we are, who we are, what's our goals, what do we need to achieve, how do we need to achieve them. I personally think it's through spirituality. I believe that we need to get our chakra lined up and clear our brains out, and we need to get rid of all this this what do you call it? Things, just monetary, all this crap, just materialistic. That's what I'm looking for. We need to get rid of all those materialistic things and get back to living on the planet and living with the planet, because according to all the scriptures from all around the world, the planet is an actual living entity. So we really need to help heal the planet. And I'm not going to get into all this, new Green Deal crap, because that's not part of that. It's not what I'm talking about. So, because me personally, I think the electrical grid is the wrong way to go, but I'll get off on that in another episode or whatever. But for right now, I just wanted to take you on my journey down my ancient archaeology, give you some of the little things that I've learned, and I hope maybe I'd spark something in you to get out and learn some stuff yourself. All right. Well, I thank you, and I appreciate you watching, listening to the show, and we'll see you later. Thank you.